On a Saturday in late December of 2025, two charter captains were running the shallows off Honeymoon Island on the Gulf Coast of Florida when something surfaced beside the boat that stopped both of them cold. It was a shark, but not one of the ones they pull up out of that water every week. It was heavy through the shoulders, dark-backed, blunt-nosed, with the unmistakable outline that every person on Earth has been taught to fear since childhood. They got photographs, and when the images went out, the argument started within the hour, the same argument that starts every single time. That is a great white shark, in water where a great white shark is not supposed to be, or it isn't, and everyone is fooling themselves. Because a great white shark is not supposed to turn up here. It is the most feared, most studied, most instantly recognizable predator on the planet, an animal of the deep open ocean, of cold offshore water and seal colonies, and the edge of the continental shelf. It is not supposed to be a quarter-mile off a Florida beach town in the warm shallows, close enough to photograph from a fishing boat. That is the rule. Everyone knows the rule. And yet, across the last 2 years, in bays and ponds and coastal lakes and inland waters where the textbooks swear it cannot be, people up and down the American coast and beyond it keep filming something that looks exactly like the one animal that should never be there. It would be a curiosity if it were one shark off one island. It is not. It is the water off Florida and a pond in Rhode Island and the shallows 100 yards from crowded California beaches and, in the case that broke the internet, a freshwater holiday lake with children swimming in it. The same impossible shape, filmed again and again in places the open ocean is not supposed to reach. This is the space the whole story lives in. Some of what circulates is a lie, and we will get to the lies because they matter. But the reason the lies travel so far, and the reason they will not quite die, is that the truth sitting next to them is almost as strange, and it is documented, and it is on camera, and it will not go away. Start with the one nobody can wave off, because it is not off an American coast at all. It is the case that took the whole argument and settled it, filmed, confirmed, and chased across a lake by a government agency. The place was Lake Conjola, on the south coast of New South Wales, Australia. It is a holiday lake. People water ski on it, kids swim in it, and it is the last place on Earth you would look for a great white shark. But on a Sunday in August of 2024, a member of the public saw one in the water, and the sighting was serious enough that Shoalhaven City Council was notified. The council contacted state fisheries, and fisheries officers drove out and put a drone in the air to find it. A few days later, a man named Trent Mikulev heard about it and drove down with a friend and a drone of his own. What he filmed is the footage that would later travel around the world. In clear, shallow lake water, a juvenile great white, around 2 meters, but unmistakably a white shark, glides along the bank, its face visible for a moment through the surface, while the fishermen on the pier watch it pass in near silence. This is not a blurry shape. This is not a thermal smudge. It is a great white shark in a lake confirmed by a shark scientist, filmed in daylight with a local council and a government fisheries department involved. It is exactly the thing that is not supposed to be possible, and it is on video. And there is a detail in that footage that is worth stopping on because it turns the whole thing from a curiosity into something sadder and stranger. As Mikulev watched the shark move, he noticed something white trailing behind it, and in the moment he assumed it was a remora, one of the little fish that ride along on sharks. It was only days later, reviewing the footage, that he understood what he was actually looking at. It was a fishing lure, hooked into the animal with a line trailing behind it through the lake. The most dangerous predator in the sea, 1,000 miles out of place, dragging a piece of somebody's tackle through a holiday lake full of children. So how does this happen? How does the animal that cannot survive fresh water end up in a freshwater lake at all? The answer is the crack in the rule, and it is the thing the hoaxes are quietly built on top of. Most lakes that touch the coast are not actually sealed off from the sea. Lake Conjola opens to the ocean. So do countless coastal lakes and river mouths and estuaries, connected by channels that flood and shift with the tides. And a juvenile white shark, following its prey, the salmon runs, the schools of fish that move along the coast in winter, can slip through one of those openings and end up somewhere that looks to a person standing on the shore utterly impossible. The scientist who examined the Conjola footage said exactly that. The shark had likely followed the salmon run down the coast and into the lake, and it was thought to have found its way back out to the sea on a high tide. That is the boring, true, mechanical answer. And it would close the case completely, except for the other half of what these animals can do, which is not boring at all, because the reach of a great white is almost beyond belief. There is a shark, a real one, that scientists tagged off the coast of South Africa and named Nicole. Nicole swam from South Africa to Australia, across an entire ocean, and back again. The one-way journey was around 11,000 kilometers, and she covered it in 99 days. Let that sit. The distance between a great white belongs in the open ocean and a great white is in a lake near your house is not the impossible gulf it feels like. An animal that can cross the Indian Ocean in 3 months can absolutely follow a fish run through a tidal channel into a coastal lake. The rule that says they cannot be there is real. It is just softer and more porous than almost anyone believes. And once you understand that the door is open even a crack, the sightings stop looking like a string of flukes and start looking like a pattern. And the Florida captains off Honeymoon Island were not an isolated event. Along the coasts of California and the eastern United States, drone pilots now pull up juvenile white sharks swimming 100 yards off crowded beaches in the shallows among the swimmers on an almost routine basis. Animals that were always there that we simply could not see until the cameras went up. Every one of these lands in the same place, a shark that is supposedly somewhere it cannot be, a piece of footage good enough to terrify and just ambiguous enough to argue about, and a comment section split down the middle between the people who are certain it is fake. So let me be honest about the parts that are theater, because that honesty is the whole point of doing this properly, and because half of what goes viral in this space is a lie. Start with the loudest one. Earlier this year, a claim tore across social media that 2 great white sharks had been tracked heading for the Great Lakes, thousands of people tagging friends who swim in Lake Erie every summer. It is not real. There are no great whites cruising toward Lake Erie, and there never were. The Great Lakes are freshwater and cold, and a white shark dropped into them would not survive. That post was invented. It was debunked within a day, and anyone still sharing it is sharing a hoax. The viral great white posts that circulate out of inland lakes with no connection to the sea are overwhelmingly either hoaxes, jokes taken seriously, or misidentifications. The 20-foot monster that surfaced in a Rhode Island pond on Memorial Day and stopped a waterfront restaurant cold turned out to be a basking shark, a giant, harmless filter feeder that could not hurt you if it tried. Most of the time, when the internet screams great white in a place a great white cannot be, the internet is wrong. You should know that going in. But conceding all of that does not close the door. And here is the precise, narrow thing that is actually true, stripped of the hoaxes and the hysteria. A confirmed juvenile great white shark really did swim into an Australian holiday lake in 2024, and it was filmed, and a government agency chased it with a drone. Coastal lakes and estuaries really are connected to the sea, and juvenile white sharks really do slip into them following prey. These animals really can travel distances that make near you meaningless, and they really are, right now, swimming closer to shore and closer to people, and closer to the shallow inland-feeling water where nobody thinks to look for them than the postcard image of the great white far out past the surf would ever lead you to believe. The hoax is fake. The thing the hoax is impersonating is not. And that is why the Great Lakes lie traveled the way it did. Not because people are stupid, because underneath the fake, some part of everyone who shared it had already seen the real footage, the shark in the lake, the fin outside the restaurant, the shape 100 yards off the beach, and could no longer be completely sure where the line was. The rule used to feel absolute. Great whites live in the ocean, full stop. But the rule has been quietly leaking for 2 years, in daylight, on camera, and the people who keep filming it are not cryptid hunters or hoaxers. They are fishermen and diners, and a guy with a drone who drove down to the lake to see something he never expected to see in his life. So it comes back to that lake in Australia, and the juvenile white shark gliding along the bank with a fishing lure hooked into it and a line trailing behind. It should not have been there. Every rule in the book says it should not have been there, and it was there anyway, in shallow, fresh-feeling water, a short swim from a pier full of people, filmed in the clear afternoon light. The most feared predator in the ocean, somewhere the ocean was not supposed to reach. The Great Lakes story was a lie, but the reason nobody could quite laugh it off is that the water is more connected than we like to think. The animal travels farther than we can imagine, and every summer now, the door between the sea and the places we swim opens a little wider.